In a spiritual world dominated by men, a young girl from Colorado was determined to be her own guru, and that's what she did. Katie from the suburbs became Guru Jagat, a woman who liked to be on top. Having been anointed by a spiritual Kundalini master, Guru Jagat was ready to change the world. She wrote a book, spoke at Harvard, was featured in prominent magazines, had a fashion line, and was CEO of 7 businesses, including 3 global yoga studios where Hollywood housewives and celebrities flocked and chanted. Celebrities like Alicia, Kate Hudson, and Russell Brand sung her praise. But she wasn't your average guru. She listened to rap, wore big jewelry, and bragged about making money. Lots and lots of money. But somewhere along the way, the girlboss facade began to crumble. This is a story about luxury, fraud, businesses becoming massive empires, a cult-like work environment, and much more.
Whatever that you want, whatever that you need, you can be sure that I got it all, I got everything. Open up your eyes, wake up from your sleep. Everything you want is everything I got, yeah, it's all right here. I got what you want, I got what you need, I got it all.
This is a story of scandal, a story of devoted disciples. It's a story of selling spirituality. And it's a story of a guru's fall from grace.
Everyone else is nothing at all. Whatever that you want, whatever that you need, it's here 'cause I got it all.
Kundalini is a Sanskrit word, represented symbolically as a coiled snake, and refers to a form of divine feminine energy believed to lie at the base of the spine. Through a series of deep and rapid breathing exercises, Kundalini Yoga releases this energy and brings it into the world as a form of what followers call feminine liberation. Kundalini appeals to its followers as they are told they can experience what is called an awakening, where mental, emotional, and spiritual levels of energy are aligned and brought to consciousness. Kundalini followers believe the person gains a higher awareness and understanding of their soul, their purpose, and the nature of reality itself. A young woman from Fort Collins, Colorado, named Katie Griggs attended her first class, and within 20 seconds of the session beginning, she found herself experiencing what many seek years to find, a Kundalini awakening. Katie Griggs had grown up in a Christian family and attended a local private school. As an adult, the awakening led her to believe that her destiny was to become a disciple of Kundalini and its founder and leader, Yogi Bhajan. Yogi Bhajan was born Harbhajan Singh Khalsa in India in 1924. He worked as a customs inspector before turning to yoga. In the 1980s, he emigrated to Canada, where he began teaching Kundalini to the masses after claiming he was a well-known holy man back home in India. And while Yogi Bhajan was the one who brought Kundalini to the West, and although he claimed to have created Kundalini, what he really did was take ancient practices from Sikhism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and packaged them up so they were more appealing for a commercial audience, something which many mainstream members of the Sikh religion have said violated Sikh teachings. Yogi Bhajan called Kundalini ancient technology and claimed he had been gifted the teachings of Kundalini by its oldest known master. He told followers that he had to ride a helicopter to rural India, where he knelt outside the mouth of a cave for 3 days before the yogi master agreed to teach him. He believed it was his destiny to take these ancient practices and beliefs to the world, and made it his life's mission to share his unique version of spirituality to his followers. Bhajan claimed to be able to see the future and told Westerners he was the official religious leader of all Sikhs in the Western world. Yogi Bhajan told his followers they could only reach what he called a Kundalini awakening if they gave up alcohol, drugs, and meat. He also taught Western medicine was the root of all spiritual problems. His followers who suffered from depression or anxiety were told to practice yoga more devoutly or to meditate longer. Seeing a doctor or psychiatrist was an abomination in Bhajan's world. He also told followers that the only way to fully release the divine energy of the coiled snake was to live a celibate and monogamous life. There was just one problem, though. Yogi Bhajan was married, with children. Even more concerning than his contradictory teachings were his beliefs about SA. Bhajan didn't believe SA existed. He told his followers there was no such thing, and in 1978, he stated that SA was invited by the person the harm was done to, and that the victim was always subconsciously providing the environments and arrangements. The idea that there are no victims and everything that happens in your life is your fault is a common manipulation tactic used in most cults and high-control organizations. But Bhajan was right about one thing. He was his own best marketing strategy. Within only a few years of arriving in Canada, he opened Kundalini centers across the United States. Selling spirituality to Westerners was a profitable business model for the man who claimed to be a guru, as his disciples loved to think they were being guided on their spiritual journeys by a holy man directly from the source of yoga. But Kundalini wasn't Bhajan's only business. Bhajan built an empire. You may have heard of a brand of tea called Yogi Tea. Bhajan created Yogi Tea in 1984, and Yogi Tea grew to become a multi-million-dollar herbal tea company. To this day, the Yogi Bhajan company owns and operates Yogi Tea. But the peaceful guru wanted to profit from war, and so he owned and operated a private security firm known as Akal Security. At the time of this recording, Akal Security has been awarded at least $3.5 billion in federal contracts since the year 2000, and its website states it provides private security for 26 Army and Air Force bases and installations around the world. Further research of the company made it clear that Akal Security profits mostly from war, which is in stark contrast to Yogi Bhajan's teachings of peace and love. In 2016, the U.S. Department of Justice released a report examining the United States Marshals Service contract with Akal Security, Inc. to provide court security services in Pennsylvania. Akal is one of the largest providers of contracted federal judicial security services, protecting 112 federal courthouses in 12 states. The DOJ's Office of Inspector General audited the services provided at the Philadelphia courthouse during 2013, which were valued at approximately $3.9 million. The DOJ found that Akal incorrectly billed the United States Marshals Service and did not comply with contract requirements. Recommendations were made to the USMS regarding Akal Security, but not much else was done. While Bhajan donned the robes of a humble man, he lived a life of excess. He had a fleet of Rolls-Royces and regularly traveled between his expensive homes in Beverly Hills and New Mexico. But back to Katie. Yogi Bhajan offered his disciples the opportunity to join him in person and learn how they could spread the word of Kundalini to the world. There was just one catch. Attending the event would cost you thousands of dollars. Katie wasn't going to miss this opportunity despite the expense, and so she set off on a spiritual pilgrimage of sorts. She traveled to India where she joined Yogi Bhajan and 1,000 other enthusiasts for the summer solstice. The group woke at 3:30 a.m. for prayer and meditation, and at one point, Katie claimed to have spent 3 days in a tantric meditation with her leader. Katie told the story that over the coming months, she grew closer to Bhajan, and after spending 2 summers learning the ways of Kundalini, Bhajan approached her to undertake a special mission. He told Katie that she should move to Los Angeles and spread the word about Kundalini to a wider audience. Katie was honored to have been hand-chosen for such important work, and she quickly began to make arrangements to move to LA. Little did she know that one day she would be mingling with celebrities and featured in well-known magazines. Before Katie and Bhajan parted ways, Bhajan gifted Katie with a new name. She would now be known as Guru Jagat. Ironically, on Bhajan's website, 3ho.org, one can pay $40 and get a spiritual name personally selected for them. The 3 H's in 3HO stand for Healthy, Happy, Holy, and the Healthy, Happy, Holy organization claims to be a nonprofit. 3HO is a well-known pillar in the yoga world and metaphysical circles, as 3HO provides astrology, Kundalini, chakras, and third eye trainings, as well as celebrations and retreats. As I'm writing this, 3HO currently has a December retreat planned in the Santa Cruz, California mountains to celebrate the winter solstice, where people will travel from around the world to attend. A look online at the retreat's daily schedule shows events begin at 4 a.m. and do not end until 9 p.m. Many ex-members have called 3HO a cult. Katie, now back from her retreat with Bhajan, had her new name of Guru Jagat. Jagat is the Sanskrit word for bringer of light to the universe, and the girl from the suburbs was ready to shine. But by the time Katie returned to the States, Bhajan already had at least one lawsuit pending against him from a former assistant who claimed to have been repeatedly R-worded and abused while working for him. Word got around, but Katie paid no mind to it. In Katie's eyes, her master was the embodiment of Kundalini, and the allegations were that of a bitter woman who had never experienced a release of her feminine energy. In 2003, Katie arrived in LA to begin her new life as a yoga teacher. But she didn't begin to use her new name just yet. Instead, she began to refer to herself as Kundalini Katie. It was at this time that her physical transformation began. Replacing the yoga-esque pants that are popular among workout crowds, Katie started to don white, flowy robes and wrap her long blonde hair in a turban, just like Yogi Bhajan. She began to teach Kundalini classes and spread not only the yogic practice, but also the underlying beliefs her master had guided her in. But just as her classes began to increase in popularity, she received devastating news. Her mentor and spiritual guide, the person she looked up to most in the world, was dead. At the age of 75, Yogi Bhajan had passed from congestive heart failure. Katie was devastated. She believed Bhajan to be the father she never had and the God she put her faith into. More than 1,000 people attended the yogi's funeral, which came complete with a long meditation and open-air cremation. And it was at this funeral that Katie had her next realization. The disciples of Kundalini were adrift and lost without their leader. Bhajan needed to be replaced. Who better than Katie to take over? She had been hand-chosen by the man himself before, so why not elevate herself to his role? In the wake of Yogi Bhajan's death, Katie increased her hours to teach yoga full-time. Over the next 10 years, Katie established herself as her master's successor, attending every Kundalini event and speaking at every occasion. By 2013, when the next phase of her transformation began, Katie's classes were often sold out and word of Kundalini had spread. The next phase of Katie's transformation was social media. When Instagram emerged as a means to promote herself, Katie wasted no time in marketing herself to the masses. She began posting photos and videos offering guidance and resources to her followers, including starting a YouTube channel in 2013 where she posted videos on what she claimed were liver cleanses and detoxes, how to battle anxiety and negativity, and even meditation for children. Katie spoke of enlightenment and transformation through Kundalini, and she made sure her followers knew there was nothing wrong with wanting to be rich and look good, and she preached that Kundalini could help you achieve it.
Your relationship to work is your relationship to everything. And if some of you have been married for a long time, who's been married for over 15 years or 12 years, or a couple of you? I mean, work, anybody? Like the hardest work you've ever done. So your relationship to work, nothing about that is romantic and like passionate anymore. It's just work. And you can, through your work, you can make it romantic and passionate. You can have a beautiful relationship, but it takes a lot of work. True or not true? So your relationship with work is your relationship with everything. And Yogi Bhajan said, if you want to find your true purpose, whatever's in front of you, do it so well, so exquisitely, with all of your heart, that the universe can't help but surrender to you. Your success can't help but surrender to you because you're so magnificent.
In 2013, Katie claimed she had experienced yet another epiphany, her most powerful one yet. During a gong ceremony, Katie said the voice of Bhajan came to her and told her, "Now is the time to start your own studio in Venice Beach, and this time you must do it for the exaltation of Hari Jivan." Hari Jivan was born Stephen Carroll Hartzell in 1956. In his 50s, Steve began working for Bhajan as an assistant turned business partner. But the pair's business dealings weren't always legal. And in the year 2000, Steve spent time in jail after he was arrested by the FBI for scamming people with printer toner that never arrived. For this crime, he was dubbed the Toner Bandit by local media and ordered to spend 18 months in prison and repay $155,000 to victims of his fraud. But his prison sentence didn't seem to worry Bhajan, who was involved in dodgy dealings himself. But Bhajan and Hari Jivan, who Bhajan now called a teacher, went about business as usual, charging high amounts for yoga retreats, face readings, and spiritual awakenings at Bhajan's hand.
You know, I only know a couple things, and I've been teaching them over and over again. But since no one seems to get them, that's good for me. So I don't have to learn anything else. But I just try to explain it better. The parapsychology of moving thought forms, that's the game. And Yogi Bhajan put it, the inner vision of the subconscious is difficult to achieve. And you have to get enough energy in your system and vibrate the neurons with enough velocity that you can create a perceptual apparatus where you can start to see the subconscious thought forms that everyone has to deal with. And most people are one thought, it takes them, they work on one thought and its associated thought forms for several lifetimes.
Off the back of her latest epiphany, where she claimed to hear Bhajan speak to her and tell her to dedicate her studio to his right-hand man, Hari Jivan, Katie decided she would do as guided and opened her own Kundalini studio. But she needed the money to get started, so she hit up her first spiritual guide, her mother Nancy, and convinced Nancy to give her $20,000 to open a yoga studio in Venice Beach. Except Katie didn't just open a yoga studio. In 2013, she opened the Ra-Ma Institute for Applied Yogic Science and Technology. Ra-Ma means sun and moon in Sanskrit. At the institute, Katie offered business classes where she gave advice on topics like how to build a highly profitable business and how to achieve new levels of prosperity, fulfillment, and true success. Every person that walked through the door to join a yoga class became a target for Katie's other money-making ventures. There were retreats held at thousands of dollars a day, business classes and online courses, crystals for sale, and her fashion line of white dresses. With the business ready for customers, Katie was finally ready to embody the last stage of her transformation. She declared her name was now Guru Jagat, and she shared that the title was the final gift she received from Bhajan before his death. Somehow, with the adornment of her white robes and headscarves and the backdrop of her Rama studio, the world believed she was the second coming of Yogi Bhajan. Upon opening day, her classes were full and followers flocked in droves to be seen at Rama and by Katie's side. Before long, she had attracted high-profile disciples like Alicia Keys, Kate Hudson, and Russell Brand.
Kundalini Yoga, brought to the West by Yogi Bhajan. Here is Yogi Bhajan. Let's try one of these exercises right now. The first exercise we'll try is called Ego Eradicator. And who needs it more than me? Om Namo Namo.
Kate Hudson once stated, quote, Guru Jagat has a beautiful way of bringing a youthful and accessible approach to an ancient practice, and her mission to bring more people into this movement of reaching a collective higher consciousness. End quote.
Shanjatale takes a look at how much today is benefiting yoga businesses.
An ancient practice given a modern twist. Guru Jagat isn't your typical yoga guru. The American has built a multi-million-dollar business as a yoga master to the stars. Fans include Alicia Keys and Kate Hudson. She travels the world to teach her form of Kundalini yoga, which has a following amongst one big growth market.
Now the millennials are monetizing, and I think it's we've seen a huge jump just from the kind of past 9 months when the millennials are now starting to become parents and monetizing in the digital space and consuming in different ways.
And that's only scratching the surface. 300 million people are now practicing yoga worldwide.
These celebrity endorsements opened doors for Katie into a realm she could have only once dreamed of. While Katie was mingling with celebrities, Huddy Jeevan also found his way to Hollywood when he founded a band called White Sun in 2015. Only 2 years later, White Sun would go on to win a Grammy at the 59th Annual Grammy Awards.
And it's our dream to see this world become a more beautiful place. For anyone who shares in that dream with us, thank you, we love you, and let's do better.
Santosh, I love you. Thank you.
As Katie's profile grew, celebrity followers began to speak out in support of Katie and the Rama Institute. Alicia Keys praised her when she said, quote, after meeting Guru Jagat and becoming introduced to the technology of Kundalini Yoga, every part of me has become awakened. I'm clearer, stronger, more conscious, and more creative than ever. Guru Jagat's Tell It Like It Is style is modern, relatable, and very doable. I love it. End quote. Off the back of such high praise, Katie was invited to give a speech at Harvard Divinity School, one of the constituent schools of Harvard University, where she was hailed as a thought leader and entrepreneur. Here's a clip of Katie at Harvard Divinity School.
Can you just share a little bit about your backgrounds, and don't leave out the struggle? Like, we want to hear the struggle, if there was a struggle with money and business.
Okay, struggle. Let's make this dramatic. So I was raised by a single mother who is a very hard worker and taught me a lot about work ethic. I think work ethic gets you everywhere. And I was saying this last night, I don't feel like I have to say this as much in Boston because and in New England, you know, there's some hard working going on around here and I appreciate it, and at Harvard. But, you know, we're in California a lot and people think a 24-hour work week is full time. And so we have to, you know, kind of remind them. So, but I do feel work ethic gets you everywhere, and I certainly, that was installed. And I believe, and we were talking about this as well, the most successful people, no matter where, you know, in what industry or sector, fame, riches, whatever the things, people think that they want, even though once you get them, it's a whole nother story. Every one of them has that one quality, which is hardcore work ethos. So I was taught that at an early age. And then, just struggle. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, what are you doing? You're up all night thinking about how to pay the rent. I mean, that's welcome to the party. And that goes for about 20 years. And you lose your youth. You've traded your youth for some sort of dream of entrepreneurialism. But my teacher, Yogi Bhajan, says that the business and money are some of the quickest ways, including romantic relationship, to become conscious, and they're the biggest spiritual practices, and they will offer you the biggest spiritual tests. So he particularly said money and sex, they're the heaviest things on the planet. So if you can get conscious in money and sex, you're going to be able to maneuver a lot less complex situations with grace. So, yeah.
But what Katie forgot to tell her Harvard Divinity School audience was that she was still struggling to pay the rent. And as Guru Jagat rose to the top, she would begin stealing tens of thousands of dollars from yoga studio owners. Before speaking at Harvard, Katie published a memoir called Invincible Living: The Power of Yoga, the Energy of Breath, and Other Tools for a Radiant Life. Ever the entrepreneur, Katie launched her own website where followers could get their hands on one of her turbans or flowing white dresses. She claimed her dresses, quote, hold a very high energetic frequency meant to uplift the aura of the wearer through the art of dressing up. Launched to coincide with the spring equinox because those are kind of the power days of the year, end quote. Katie also launched a podcast called Reality Riffing. Between the YouTube channel, book, podcast, social media, and speaking engagements, Guru Jagat was inescapable. But far from a humble and ethereal leader as her yoga practices might suggest, her teachings had become strangely specific, and some would even say manipulative. Many of Katie's students came only to attend her classes, but those who would dedicate themselves to her teachings claimed their lives became rigorous and controlled. As one former member stated, quote, if you are a devout student of Guru Jagat, every minute of every day is prescribed, including what to eat, how to eat, when to sleep, who to see, and so on, end quote. Katie advised her followers that their depression could be cured by daily cold showers and reassured them that the best way to detox and heal their body was by eating only fruit starting with the letter P for 7 weeks.
And this is how it's going to go. So you do this Kriya every day. We'll do full times this morning, which is quite a challenge, but you can shorten the times. That you have the right to shorten the times if you so choose. And I think there's some videos that have the shorter times available on your P-Fruit, your Metabolic Makeover Challenge page. So we'll do the full times today just to kick it off. It's new moon and the glandular system is ready for a reset, which is what this incredible Kriya does. And then every day, you can incorporate foods that begin with P in your language. If you're multilingual, you have more choices, so aren't you lucky? And so any food or fruit that begins with a P that is not popcorn or pizza, or Marta had a dream this morning after sadhana that I told her that eating pasta was a part of the P food diet. So that's not true. That is disinformation. Any naturally forming P food, if it just comes off the tree and it's called a P with the first letter P, then that is what you can eat.
But Katie's favorite P food was Postmates, as it was reported by former staff that she lived on a diet of Postmates deliveries, sometimes ordering Postmates up to 5 times a day. Yet her employees were expected to follow a strictly controlled meal plan of low-calorie foods and regular fasting. Katie said this was for deeper spiritual connection, but it had the effect of leaving her staff in a trance-like state, given their bodies and minds were malnourished. This was on top of the fact that most of Katie's employees were working 60 to 80-hour weeks. Katie also regularly verbally abused her staff and in group chats sent messages that said, quote, "I can't do f***ing everything. Fuck you all," end quote. All of Katie's staff were paid minimum wage and offered no health benefits. Former staff members recall paychecks regularly bouncing, leaving some unpaid for months. But it wasn't just her staff Katie wanted control over. In one YouTube video, Katie declared that after the age of 18 years old, it was damaging to spend more than 72 hours under the same roof as your parents. She stated that in a video just days before Thanksgiving, when thousands of her followers would be heading home to spend time with their families. At another time, she told followers to only eat melon for 7 days in order to deplaque the brain, stating, quote, "Foods that look like brain do something for your brain," end quote. Deplaquing is a debunked method of detoxifying brain cells. Katie claimed that repeating her mantras every day would mean you would never need cosmetics again, as the words breathed energy into facial muscles. But most of all her teachings were based on one underlying belief: you can be both spiritual and a capitalist, and that it's okay to live for designer brands and spend money faster than you make it. She told her followers that in fact, doing so would bring you closer to your true purpose. And Katie lived into this belief. She never wore the same clothes twice, only flew business class, and refused to stay in anything but 5-star hotels. Guru Jagat was living the high life. Over the coming years, Katie expanded her business and opened studios in Boulder, Colorado, and New York. Before long, Katie was eyeing the international market, and in 2016, she traveled to Spain to open a raw mas studio in Mallorca, Spain. Mallorca is a playground for the rich and famous, and prime real estate for the type of crowd Katie attracted. The new studio would be a joint effort between Katie and a follower and Kundalini devotee named Philippa Hughes, who lived in Mallorca. Philippa had long dreamed of opening a yoga studio, and through meeting Katie, she believed her dream was finally going to become a reality. While getting the studio ready to be opened, Katie moved into Philippa's one-bedroom apartment, which was above their studio, which Philippa shared with her 3-year-old son. But one day, Katie demanded that Philippa and her child share the couch while she got the bed, the only bed. Being as Philippa had rented the entire building herself, she refused. The next day, 7 men and women of the guru's inner circle surrounded Philippa and screamed at her for refusing to give the guru what she wanted. Philippa told Business Insider, quote, "They literally rounded me up and they were attacking me, saying, 'She's your teacher, how dare you not serve?'" End quote. Philippa said this is when she started to piece things together. During the months Guru Jagat was staying with her inner circle nearby, she would watch as Katie berated and demeaned her employees regularly. Philippa said she once witnessed Katie call her employees at 3 a.m. demanding, quote, "Where's my hairbrush? I didn't get it because I don't do that. I don't serve." End quote. Demands like these were not abnormal from the guru. After months of intense planning and 80-hour weeks, the Mallorca studio was finally ready to open. On opening day, instead of Katie thanking Philippa for her role in funding and developing the studio, she dedicated it to none other than Hudson. Hudson had traveled to Mallorca for the opening, and 1 week later, Philippa received a bill for $1,900 to pay for his attendance. That was the moment Philippa realized she had been scammed. This realization opened the door to what was really going on behind Katie's ethereal white robes and turban. Philippa reached out to Kundalini associates who had been involved in the opening of the Boulder studio, and they had a very similar story to tell. Katie had collected $200,000 in seed money from investors to open the Boulder studio, and in return, she promised to share the profits of the business. Except she didn't. Instead, Katie used the business credit cards to pay for her own personal expenses and outstanding debts at her Venice, California studio. And any and all profits from the Boulder, Colorado studio were siphoned into Katie's personal accounts. The Boulder studio couldn't survive the losses and was forced to close just a few months after opening. Philippa ended up losing more than $20,000 that she invested in the business, including the leases and unpaid time. Philippa ended her business relationship with Ra Ma less than 1 year after it had begun. Katie then went on to open another Mallorca studio just streets away from the one Philippa had co-founded. Despite the dodgy dealings in both Mallorca and Boulder, Katie's star continued to rise, but behind closed doors, the Ra Ma Institute was going in exactly the opposite direction. Even with classes regularly sold out, checks were bouncing, employees weren't being paid, and Katie's studio was consistently behind on rent. Cracks were beginning to show, but they were about to become crevasses. Ex-employees began to come forward to tell their version of the Guru Jagat they knew behind the scenes. They said that Katie would demand her staff share their deepest, darkest secrets and have them relive their trauma so she could later use their experiences against them. While there are many examples of this behavior, one that sticks out is an employee who said Katie attacked an assistant for forgetting to add sour cream to her burrito. The assistant said, quote, "We were all in a meeting and she looked at us and said, 'Enough with this I'm mad at mommy BS. Don't take it out on me because you're mad that your mom used to fuck right in front of you.'" End quote. Through all this, her employees were made to feel like they should be grateful for the opportunity to work with a Kundalini master, with Katie even telling employees, quote, "When you see job listings for the things you do at my company, just know I am exploring new options." End quote. Staff were pitted against each other and told they could be fired at any minute. They likened Ra Ma to a cult where absolute devotion to their leader was demanded. And yet, Katie's celebrity disciples were still speaking in support of her. In 2019, Alicia Keys was about to host the Grammys. In a later interview, Alicia reported that on the day of the awards show, she spent the morning with Guru Jagat. As the media watched on, and on the day of, Alicia told the media, quote, "I'm getting ready for a powerful, magnificently charged with positive energy day." End quote. But with or without celebrity support, the moment of truth for Katie Griggs was about to fly high. In 2019, an ex-employee of Yogi Bhajan named Pamela Dyson released a tell-all memoir of her time in the Kundalini fold. For 16 years, Pamela was a disciple of Bhajan and worked as an assistant to him. Except this work wasn't done by choice. In Pamela's book, she claimed that despite Bhajan's preaching being founded on monogamy and celibacy, she was forced to perform intimate acts on Bhajan and repeatedly suffered SA and worse by the guru. The reason Pamela stayed so long was that he made it impossible for her to leave. She had no money, nowhere to go, and was effectively imprisoned. Bhajan also got her pregnant and then forced her to get an abortion. Pamela was the one who sued Bhajan all those years ago when Katie first started her Kundalini journey. But with all of Bhajan's money and influence, Pamela was unable to continue to fight the case, and eventually she was forced to settle out of court. With the explosive allegations against the great master of Kundalini, the press and the public naturally looked to his successor for a comment. And what did the great Guru Jagat say when faced with either denouncing the person who made her or exalting him even further? Katie came to the defense of her master and then uploaded clips to her Instagram where she stated that Pamela's tale is, quote, "no truer than any other tale. The truth, as always, lies in the eye of the beholder." End quote. Within days, Katie had filmed a 55-minute video with Hudson, which attacked Pamela's background and allegations. But Katie and Hudson's comments did little to stem the flow of complaints against Bhajan, and over the next 6 months, More than 36 women came forward with allegations of SA against Bhajan, and he began to be referred to as the Harvey Weinstein of yoga, a man who preyed on vulnerable women and convinced them that they were special, and that being in the presence of such greatness gave him full control and access over their bodies and lives. He made them participate in orgies, pornography, and worse. An independent report released in the wake of the claims found that the abuse, more likely than not, did occur. Those infatuated and devoted to Bhajan refused to believe he had done anything wrong. After all, according to him, SA doesn't exist. Katie and Huddy Jeevan doubled down on their statements, and in a clip shared online, Huddy Jeevan told a Rama Kundalini class, quote, "I don't believe the victims. That's our simple position," end quote. In the wake of the Me Too movement, Katie's comments against the victims divided followers of Kundalini. They were torn between their love of the practice and its teaching and the leader they aspired to embody. But it's what Katie did next that really turned many against Guru Jagat. In a video uploaded to her Instagram where she once again bashed Pamela and her allegations, Katie claimed that she was being attacked by robots. Not online bots or trolls, actual robots.
Because there were people who were there, not just there once a week. They were there every day, day in, day out. And they've been through these allegations. They've been through these takedowns. They've been through the CIA deprogramming that went on in the 70s and the 80s. They've been through these rich Sikh rightist groups that never liked Yogi Bhajan and tried to take him down forever. They've been through the Pamela Dyson of it all. This woman, she conveniently, finishes her book before she's sued and before a million other things happened, so that the story looks a certain way. And also, we have the inside, we have a lot of inside intel, because I have a very inside kind of view on what's going on, who got paid, what happened, how these things go on. And then I'm being attacked by robots. So you tell me if we're just dealing with a survivor situation. That's not my experience, because I'm being attacked by robots.
And then came the bombshell she would never recover from. Katie admitted to the world that she had never actually met Yogi Bhajan in person. That's right, the person she claimed gave her spiritual name and whom she claimed to have studied beside for 3 years, her master who hand-selected her to go to LA and open Kundalini Studios, and the one she has defended against multiple SA and abuse claims. She never met him. And so, in the wake of the Me Too movement not quieting down but growing bolder by the day, Katie's story changed from defending Bhajan to simultaneously saying she had nothing to do with him. Off the back of her revelation, her Kundalini supporters began to dwindle and classes weren't as full as they once were. But Katie seemed unaffected, and she boasted online about her personal life actually taking a positive turn. She married a man named Austin Dunbar, or Teg Nam as he was known in their inner circle. He was a former student and 16 years younger than Katie. Austin came complete with his own reputation, but it wasn't yoga he was known for. His claim to fame was espousing fringe beliefs and conspiracy theories. Just as the pandemic brought the world to a standstill, Austin added a new dimension to the already strange opinions Katie had started to share with the world. Katie began sharing anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and claimed in company group chats that Black Lives Matter protesters were organized looters and called them cockroaches. She warned her followers not to believe the hype of the pandemic. While most yoga studios were closed due to pandemic rules, Katie defied that the virus existed and continued to host classes where she allowed attendees to not wear a mask when they practiced. But this wasn't someone who simply didn't understand or acknowledge the science. Katie uploaded a video to her Instagram where she asked, quote, "Is the reason we're being told to stay home that we are actually in some type of alien war?" End quote.
The reason why we're being told to stay home, that we're actually in some sort of alien war. You should be asking yourself that question.
The direction of her podcast also took a turn. Katie started interviewing pandemic deniers, conspiracy theorists, and anti-Semites. Between them, they made unfounded claims about 5G and asserted that the world is run by a cabal of shape-shifting reptilian beings.
That is disinformation.
QAnon's theories and anti-trans rhetoric became a common theme on her podcast as well. Off the back of this abrupt change in direction, people were leaving Rama Studio. A lot of people. Even an account titled @RamaWrong appeared on Instagram, sharing proof of Katie's behavior towards employees. Ex-students of Huddy Jeevan also appeared on the account and have claimed that Huddy Jeevan allegedly arranges marriages amongst his students and has caused divorce, and asks inappropriate questions when in private about his female students' sex lives. But Katie and Huddy Jeevan doubled down and refused to acknowledge any of the claims made against them by ex-employees and former students. Katie denied any financial trouble for the Rama Institute. She bashed deserters and called them snowflakes who would never connect with their deeper meaning. She then made another fashion line titled Cancel Culture. But these gurus spouted a message that one could have anything they want in life, as each and every person is responsible for everything that happens to them and there are no victims. By that logic, it's surprising Katie just didn't uncancel herself. The guru also began recording songs and made an album. Here's a preview.
I'm sick and tired of hearing things from uptight, short-sighted, narrow-minded hypocritics. All I want is the truth. Just give me some truth.
In the later part of 2021, Katie declared she was considering running for political office. She claimed to be very well connected politically and that support for her would be overwhelming. But Katie wouldn't get that chance. Somewhere through all of this, Guru Jagat was still being interviewed for magazines like Vanity Fair and Harper's Bazaar, and was regularly invited to speak at universities, yoga retreats, and corporate events. In July of 2021, Katie was flown to Germany to give a speech on inner resourcing. After her speaking commitments were completed, she took a shower and slipped on her way out, causing a fracture to her ankle. German doctors advised her she would need surgery and that the best course of action was to have the operation while in Germany. But Katie decided she knew best, and she would much rather get back to LA and recover in the US. Against the German doctor's advice, she caught the next flight home. Her ankle surgery was completed without a problem, but while in recovery, Katie experienced a pulmonary embolism, a blood clot in the lungs. This is a very rare side effect of surgery and is usually caused by a clot which has formed in the legs, traveling up into the lungs. It is often associated with long-haul flights. The clot caused Katie to have a heart attack, and at the age of 41, Katie Griggs was dead. But Katie's legacy of corruption, greed, and manipulation didn't die with her. Followers, in particular those who believed her claims, still believe her death was part of some big conspiracy, and some even claim that she is still alive. In their opinion, there's just no way that a guru filled with peace and love could have died from routine ankle surgery. Even with her shady business dealings and false assertions of guruism, it was perhaps her cultural appropriation that stung the worst. Here was a Colorado native who once was quoted as saying the word yoga came from the Bible, not from ancient Hinduism. She wore white robes and turbans, which are deeply meaningful symbols of Sikh culture. She sold bracelets, crystals, and clothing under the guise of being anointed as a guru by a person she later admitted she had never met. To this day, the Rama Institute runs Kundalini practice daily and offers the same menu of female empowerment and business classes. Guru Jagat is still named on the front page as the founder and CEO of 7 global businesses alongside the name-dropped celebrities who once followed her teachings. And old Steve, aka the Toner Bandit, aka Huddy Jeevan, is pictured on the Rama website and listed as one of their spiritual teachers. Russell Brand continues to promote Kundalini and conspiracy theories, and when asked on social media to renounce Guru Jagat, Alicia Keys, Kate Hudson, and Russell Brand had nothing to say. As for Katie's victims, many still suffer from the effects of their time under her supposed guidance. Katie led them to believe that if they didn't practice Kundalini daily and live by her strict rules, all of their hard work would be undone and their lives would be ruined. Many still feel controlled by that belief and continue to practice devoutly, worried that they will regress mentally and emotionally if they stop. At the time of this recording, there is still no oversight or regulatory obligations in the US for apparent influencers, even when they claim to be selling a product which will impact your mental or emotional well-being. They can make any claim they want, charge any amount they want, and yet very rarely have to prove the facts or results of the product they're peddling. In a world full of gurus, it's a free pass on accountability. This has been the story of the Yogi Mafia and a celebrity cult leader's fall from grace. If you are a fan of learning about scams, cults, and cautionary tales, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you'll be notified when a new documentary comes out. My name is Josie, and thank you so much for watching.
Whatever that you want, whatever that you need, you can be sure that I got it all. I got everything. Anywhere you are, wherever you may be, you could be far, you could be a star, still be one in me. I got what you want, I got what you need, I got it all.